Thank you. Well, it is such an honor to be with you today. Thank you for your concern. And it has been an honor for me to work with Dana Rohrbacher. He's been such a leader in this area. And so when he told me he was getting a trip back earlier this year to go to Iraq, I said, we've got to go to Camp Ashraf. We have got to go check on those people. And he was all for it. And then when we got there and had our meeting with Maliki, of course, since he was the leader, he had to say the nice comments starting off. And so by the time it was my turn to speak, I got right into the unpleasantries, and that Camp Ashraf had been assured by the United States and by Maliki's government when they took over that they would be safe. And part of our turning the security of the country over to Maliki's government was their affirmation and their promise to keep our promises. And when I brought up the shootings back in April at Camp Ashraf, well, he had some what I consider to be rather lame responses. That, gee, we have information that it may have been them shooting their own people. Anyway, we actually ended up visiting for 30, 45 minutes. It was a long visit, and it got a little elevated at times. And he told us that to them, Camp Ashraf was a matter of national sovereignty, and we wouldn't like it if he came over and told us what to do about something in the United States. And I told him that I agreed it was a matter of national sovereignty, but when it comes to the United States, our sovereignty includes us keeping our word to people. And I added, it also means making sure that people who made us in the United States as national sovereigns, made us promises, keep those promises, and that it is a matter of United States interest. We made promises to the people of Camp Ashraf. He made promises to us, and he himself made promises to the people at Camp Ashraf, and it was time to live up to those promises. That's of great concern. It is a matter of United States sovereignty that we keep our word to people whose security relies on us keeping our word. And I hope we can get the MEK off the terrorist watch list. That should have happened years ago. It really should never have been put on there. But even more important than that is making sure about the security and safety of those in Camp Ashraf. How can we as the United States expect anybody to take us seriously or to ally with us if we don't keep our word to those to whom we've given it? So thank you for your interest. Keep pushing. People need to know how you feel. Thanks so much.
Well, I am here because the residents of Camp Ashraf are very much on my mind. This is such a critical time period, and we know that in Iraq, the president has said that Camp Ashraf would have to be closed. I cannot stand by and let that kind of massacre happen. As Saba Mojahed said last April, minutes before she died, together we will stand to the end for human rights, for freedom, and for democracy. So we must make sure that we do what we can to keep Camp Ashraf there and that we protect the lives of the refugees that are there. We must stand up for human rights. We must say that Camp Ashraf, that we have to extend the deadline for Camp Ashraf. We must protect the residents, and I promise you that I will stand by you in that effort. Thank you very much.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, although I wish there were no occasion to be here. I am a former prosecutor up in New York. I worked for Rudy for many years. And I actually was first introduced to the issue of Ashraf by a person who just passed away, Antonio Cassese, very famous Italian scholar. He was the president of the Yugoslav War Crimes Tribunal, the Lebanon War Crimes Tribunal, and he saw this as a pending war crimes issue. Maliki is a brute. He's trying to make a point. The United States of America needs to make a point back. But there are many ways that one can retaliate against a country that utterly spurns the obligations it's undertaken. And I do think that for Secretary Clinton's moral stature, which is very high, it's consistent with her stature that she should do something about this. High Commissioner for Refugees, Gutierrez, who was the former Prime Minister of Portugal, and he has finally put in process what they said couldn't be done of refugee processing, finding that the Ashraf residents are internationally protected persons while they're in process. This has been teed up at the UN, but only Gutierrez has had the guts to take it on. Let me just give me a minute or two more, if you wouldn't mind. Where I'm not here to lobby, I can't lobby, I'm just a law professor. I will, however, make a point of law, which is that the power of Congress, the Congress can pass, if it wishes, in its wisdom, a private bill admitting anybody, right. Genghis Khan, Mickey Mouse, by name or by category. So indeed, it is in the power of Congress to do as they wish. And finally, let me just say one thing, which is, I think, the most important thing now, as the other speakers have mentioned, is to say loud and clear that the deadline has to be extended. As Mike Mukasey has said, it's a dead line. Thank you.
Thank you. And the most important opposition group, as our studies indicate, is the Mujahideen of Khalq. Now, why do we say this? Because the regime says it. So what I would like to do, first of all, is thank the Iranian American communities from various states. The remarkable support that the MEK and the National Council of Resistance of Iran have in the Iranian diaspora. This is widespread support, and it's deep support, and that's one of the things that I must emphasize. In fact, the residents have accepted the UNHCR role, and the UNHCR has categorized them as asylum seekers, and what should one do? And I think that the strategy is a good one. Get Amnesty International to sign on, try to get the United Nations, the UNHCR to step up to the plate and go beyond the asylum-seeking designation, try to get the European Union's representative for Camp Ashraf to make public statements. So the bottom line I see is that there's a need for more time and space to find a diplomatic solution. And as Mr. McComb mentioned, that you need time and space to work out the details, hence this December 31st deadline is really a non-starter. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
We're here, I think, at an absolutely critical time. We're at the end game, hooray, on the issue of Camp Ashraf. And I remember Dr. Tanter and I, several years ago, had a meeting at the National Security Council under the last president, where we raised our concerns about the fate of the people of Camp Ashraf. And we were told that the Prime Minister of Iraq had personally handwritten a note to the President of the United States saying that he would protect everyone in Camp Ashraf. And unfortunately, both Ray and I raised doubts about this.
And those doubts, of course, came true. But I want to say this to all you people who have worked on this issue over the last several years, is that we're at a point where the international community has a consensus about the solution for the people in Camp Ashraf. And we have the United Nations, the United States, and also the UN have cobbled together what would be a solution to the people of Camp Ashraf. What we want is that the Iraqis postpone this hideous decision to close Camp Ashraf until the UNHCR does its work and allows that the people of Camp Ashraf are repatriated.